Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show for you. Yeah, we're going to talk about Vols versus Oklahoma, which is really both of these teams' first big test. They're both 3-0, but they haven't played a big-time SEC opponent. Now they're getting ready to do so. Now, when we look at the odds on this game, Tennessee is now favored by 71% versus 29% for Oklahoma, with about a 6 to 7 point spread. So that has switched up completely on its head. 2 weeks ago, Tennessee was an underdog by 5.5 points. Then after last week's NC State blowout, it became a 2-point favorite. And then after last night's Kent State blowout, Tennessee's now favored between 6.5 and 7 points. Oklahoma played Tulane, and they looked okay. They started out great. It was 21-0. But later in the game, it became 24-19, and Tulane had the ball and was driving to about the middle of the field and threw an interception on 3rd and 1, and that kind of ended the game for them. But it became a game which is concerning for Oklahoma because they've been kind of struggling. They struggled against Houston. They only won 16-12. The offense really has been sputtering somewhat. So there's concern in Oklahoma land. I can go ahead and tell you they're not feeling overconfident. But it's their first big SEC game, and they're brand new to the SEC, so you know they're going to be pumped. And that game's at 7:30. So I don't know how the Oklahoma folks do it, but I can tell you if it's at UT how things go. So there's a high likelihood the Oklahoma fans will be highly fortified, if you know what I mean.
You fellas been doing a bit of boozing, have you? Sucking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine?
No, oh no, sir. No.
Which means it's going to be loud as crap. Now, the key to beating Oklahoma, in my opinion, you got to stop Jackson Arnold. He's a five-star quarterback. He's got a quick release. He's sneaky fast. Just go ahead and tell you, he loves to run. He's a dual-threat quarterback, and he's every bit of it. And he'll act like he's going to throw while he's running and then get a guy to jump, and then he just takes off. So he'll fake you out. He'll trick you. Tennessee's going to have to be real careful with him and they need to be very aggressive, honestly, because Oklahoma's O-line is very suspect right now. It's very middle of the road. They got a bunch of new guys. And Tennessee's strength is their defensive line. So I would expect our edge rushers to be really going heavy at Jackson Arnold. They have a particularly good wide receiver in Deion Burks. He's kind of the key to the air for them. They'll need to focus on him pretty heavily. They have good tight ends, so they're pretty balanced when it comes to that. But I can tell you right now, if Jackson Arnold has a poor game, they have no chance of winning. It's going to be he is not only the straw that stirs the drink, he is the drink. I'm telling you, when it comes to their offense, if he plays poorly like he basically did in Houston game, they'll not win this game because they're not going to keep us to 12 points. Now, as far as Tennessee is concerned, we've really not seen Nico just totally ball out yet. He's been very reserved. You know, they've been kind of careful with him, which makes perfect sense. We're going to win the ball games anyway up to this point. We saw him a little bit in the first game that he played in, which was the Citrus Bowl, and he scored 3 touchdowns and, didn't do anything crazy. And then the next 3 games that we saw this year, he's been fantastic. He's made some throws that are so NFL level, it's ridiculous. I don't care how small the window is. If he's on, he can fit it in there. It's really surprising. And he's extremely fast at 6'6". You wouldn't think he would be, but man, he can bust it. He is a tall Bryce Young. That's what he is, and that's a fitting compliment. He's that good. And then as far as running the ball, we're going to see a heavy dose of Dylan Sampson, and Oklahoma's not going to like him. He is very difficult to tackle. I mean, he is elusive as crap. And he's powerful. You wouldn't think he would be because he's not huge, but he'll knock you down. So Dylan Sampson will probably have a pretty good game, I would think. Now, Oklahoma has a very good defensive line. That's the strength of their team. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can stop our running game. If they don't stop our running game, it's over. They will have no chance in this game. If we get 200-plus yards running, there's no way. And Tennessee has been running the ball beautifully, not only with Sampson, but also several other running backs that have been kind of running backs by committee. And you got to watch out for Nico, too, because he'll take off on you. And when he does, a couple things can happen. He can either run for a lot of yards or he can buy time and then burn you deep. And he loves to throw the deep ball. This is a difficult game for Oklahoma. What they need to have happen is their crowd to play a major role in this, get them pumped, and they will be pumped, and get some momentum. Otherwise, Tennessee could get rolling on them. And they don't want that. You don't want to get into a shootout with Tennessee because the Vols can score at will. When they get like that, once they get momentum and your quarterback gets a feel, it can get ugly. So this should be an extremely interesting game. Two very talented teams. Oklahoma absolutely can win this ball game. For the Vols fans that are overconfident right now, don't be. This is a good team with a lot of talent. And Brent Venables, he's a great defensive mind. So he'll be ready for the Vols. Now, dealing with this offense is it's very difficult. It is. I almost feel bad for the defensive coordinators that have to prepare for this offense. It's as difficult as it gets, and with Nico running it, it's just that much worse.
Tennessee, those guys scored 65 points in the first half against Kent State last night. What team have you ever heard of to score 65 points in 2 quarters against anybody? Against anybody. I haven't. 65 points in the first half. Those guys could have scored well over 100 points if they wanted to last night. Nico, if they don't take him out the game, he is going to have crazy numbers on the season. Crazy numbers. This is something like we ain't seen before on the offensive side of the ball. I'm telling you like that. Tennessee has a chance to beat anybody. And that, like I say, the defense ain't giving up too many points. And they ain't met no explosive offense yet. But it's coming. And Tennessee, you're going to have to outscore them guys. You're going to have to outscore them. Can you score at the rate Tennessee can score? I know ain't too many teams out there that can do that. I know it ain't.
Because I saw what Hendon Hooker did to so many teams for 2 years, and he would just, it was incredible. 30 touchdowns with like 3 interceptions, 2 years in a row. And that can happen with Nico as well. So it should be a heck of a ball game. I think these numbers are right. I would give Tennessee about a 1 touchdown advantage. If it was at Neyland, it would be 14 points. But at Oklahoma, it's probably a 1 score difference. And I think it's very important that Oklahoma gets off to a good start. You do not want to let Tennessee get rolling. That would be a huge mistake because it can be 21-3 like that. So they need to have a good start. And that's not going to be easy because I'm telling you, Tennessee's defense is different this year. Now, we've always been great against the run, but our secondary's been showing up. So we'll see how this plays out. But this is, it should be a heck of a ball game. And it'll be Tennessee's real first true test. We thought North Carolina State might be, but they really haven't played that great. So I think this will be the first one. So anyway, 7:30 Saturday night, and everybody's going to be fired up. I'm excited about this ball game.
Well, I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
And oh, by the way, Josh Heupel, homecoming, won a national title, finished second in the Heisman, and then got fired by Bob Stoops because his offense wasn't any good. Yeah, if there's one thing we know about Josh Heupel, his offense sucks. It's terrible. He's been awful ever since they fired him, and it's understandable. And I know Bob Stoops fired him because he didn't want to fire his brother, who was the defensive coordinator, and of course, you can't fire your brother, even though the defense was struggling and the offense wasn't struggling as much, but it was struggling a little bit, which probably because Heupel wasn't allowed to do what he wanted to do. Or maybe Heupel picked up on some things later on in life. But anyway, should be a heck of a ball game. And oh, by the way, ESPN Game Day is going to be there. So it'll even be bigger. And man, those Oklahoma fans are going to be pumped. So anyway, I did want to cover this. I didn't bother covering the Kent State thing very much because that was just good grief. 65-0 at the halftime, 35-0 after the first quarter. I don't know I've ever seen that, especially with the new clock rules the way they are. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit this little button right here and you'll get my videos all week and all month. Just makes it easier for you. And right over here is a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.